Good evening, good morning. Welcome to PSSL 6254 Strategic Change Leadership. I hope everyone's having a good course, and I hope everyone's getting something out of the course that they can apply to their current position or even look back to their experience in the military or law enforcement and can relate to it as the material flows from the course. Just some announcements. The Hurricane Katrina assignment is posted. Two groups will be doing this, and I've identified those two groups. I just want to make it clear. Everyone will be doing the final project. If you're in a group, you'll be doing a presentation. If you're not in a group for that you'll be doing a 1,500 to 2,500 word paper. I just want to emphasize again on well, if there's any questions on the assignment, please let me know, and I'll get it changed and learn this week. But if there's any issues with it, please let me know as well with the content and what your expectations are. I just want to make it clear, and I'll get into more detail in the next couple of weeks, but what I don't want is, all right, here's 50 things that went wrong with Hurricane Katrina. I don't want that. I want specific leadership failures at the state, local, at the DHS organizational level, and what those failures were and how they led to cascading effects. So, one example is the mayor, Ray Nagin. You'll see this in the videos. He didn't order evacuations at time. A pretty big leadership failure because he didn't want to upset the population. So examine that failure, and what were the impacts? What would you do, or how could a leader, based on the readings you've done, affected that change? That's one example. Another example is we couldn't get buses. Again, this is a mayoral issue at the local level. Couldn't get buses out to evacuate the people at the Superdome. Why? What were the leadership failures behind that? He'll say, I couldn't have the drivers. Well, that's whether that's an issue in management, leadership, or poor crisis decision making. Expound on that, and then explain what are the cascading effects and how many people were killed, how many people were impacted by that. So that's where I want you to go with the final project, the Hurricane Katrina assignment, which again will be a third of your grade. I'm going to get into more detail as we get closer to week 7 and week 8 on Hurricane Katrina, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to look at some of the readings, watch the video. It's actually a very good documentary on Hurricane Katrina. Do a little bit of outside research on your own, and then crowdsource it. There's a discussion section for the final project. Throw ideas on that and see what me or your TA or your classmates have to say about that. So again, that Hurricane Katrina is on the board. Adobe Connect sessions, again, 2 of them, 10 April, and if you're doing one of the 2 case studies, you'll be briefing on 10 April, and then 24 April will be dedicated to the 2 groups that are briefing on Hurricane Katrina. So again, 10 April, 24 April. How it works is, I'll send you a link for the Adobe Connect session. If you're briefing, send me the slides at least a day, if not a couple of hours before the actual briefing. You will present on Adobe Connect your PowerPoint briefing to the rest of your class, and they'll participate via chat web and ask questions. If you can't make it, and I know 1 or 2 of you said you couldn't make it, that's fine. Coordinate with your group so they can know, and if you're briefing that group, that's fine as well. Just work it out among your group to see who's going to brief, who's going to do slides, who's going to do research. If you can't make it, that's fine. Overall, just the discussion boards and the assignment 1, I took a look at it. I thought, again, most people did well. A couple of you, Tim talked to you about it individually, but I'm looking maybe from here on in a little bit more rigor, a little bit more application of the readings, a little bit more application of the lecture notes in your assignments. I get it. A lot of these leadership activities are based on your personal experience, and that's always a good thing to incorporate that. But we want to see a little bit more academic rigor from here on in. And the one thing I'm going to say is when you do the 2 case studies and when you do the Katrina, I definitely will grade you, and I will take points off if you're just kind of opinionated, giving editorializing. For those assignments, I definitely expect you to incorporate the readings into the lectures, or incorporate the readings and lectures into your assignments. And then the last point, late assignments. I'm going to throw some honesty here. That some of those leadership some of you have asked about extensions. I'll be a little bit. I understand life happens. People have kids. People have jobs. But these leadership activities aren't that hard. If you're spending 5 hours doing one, then there's something wrong. These are meant to be, opinion with some academic background incorporated. They're about your personal experiences and your personal philosophies. So if you're, if you need like a 5-day extension on one of these leadership activity assignments, I'm not going to be too inclined to grant it. Tim's not going to be too inclined to give it. I understand if it's a day or something like that, or something emergency happened. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is, I don't, especially when it comes to the papers and the leadership activities, don't say on Sunday, unless it's a death in the family, don't say I need more time on Sunday. That's poor form. If you know there's going to be something, at least reach out, Wednesday, Thursday to me and Tim and say, hey, I'm going to be late. Please incorporate me or try and ask for an extension. So that's all I'm going to say. When it comes to the final papers, I'm actually going to be pretty. Unless you've had an extensive TDY or you're having a birth in the family, I'm going to be pretty big stickler on you getting those to me on time. You know about those well in advance. You should actually be doing your research well in advance. Those are things you don't want to wait till the last minute. And yeah, I expect you to have those to me in a timely fashion. So that's, again, all I'm going to cover that. And then the dates, again, case study 1 is due 30 March. Case study 2 is due 6 April, unless you're doing the presentation, which then you will be presenting on 10 April. So with that being said, a review of last week, we covered virtual leaders, and we kind of explored how do you establish a presence if you're a virtual leader, and the world is going in that way. We're not an industrial economy where everything is done in your little factory, where you have suppliers and other entities that are worldwide, so you can't be there 24 hours a day. And that's something, again, for those of you who are in the military, is the opposite of what the military preaches. The military preaches, if you're a platoon leader, you're a company executive officer, battalion commander, you're there. You're walking the motor pool and walking with your troops and attending training, and being a presence is an absolute must. Well, that was taught in the military. What we're finding out now is in the military and in the business world is you have different entities spread out throughout the world. And how do you establish presence, your leadership presence throughout multiple entities that you can't just see directly? Just one thing, again, me right now, me on YouTube. I've got students all over the country, and I hope by giving these YouTube lectures, I've established a presence with you in a way that you might not already see. You all are going to be tested on this concept, and it's actually interesting how this works out when you do your presentations. Many of you are in different time zones, different parts of the country, and you'll have to use technology to collaborate among you to divvy up assignments and figure out how to brief. And then when you do the Adobe Connect sessions, you'll be briefing your classmates. You will be incorporating virtual leadership into your programs there. So that will be interesting how that turns out. And then, the question that came up on a couple that I posted on some of your discussion sections, and there was a good debate. Will will telework be established? Most of you said no, because basically you need to check the box. You need to show up at 8 in the morning and be the last person there. And even if you didn't do anything all day, you've at least established that you're a hard worker by just showing up at 8 in the morning and leaving at 6 at night. Other managers are afraid of, you always want that subject matter expert, arm's length away if you need a question or an issue. You don't want to get caught flat-footed, so managers are reluctant to allow telework. Others have said that there would be government, just because of advances in technology, ability to reach more people. And I've worked in telework environments before, and I find it funny that when I worked in a hard stand, people who were one floor from each other didn't talk. But when you put it in a virtual environment, you establish Adobe Connect sessions, people talked all the time. Maybe that's human nature, maybe that's just organizational culture, but that's just one thing that might be a positive for if you want to establish a telework virtual presence in your office. And then we talked again personal leadership competencies. I was always definitely interested in reading what you guys do. I thought I would share a couple of mine, and again, there's my job description, which is on USA Jobs, and it's the generic, serve as a research analyst in support of digital programs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what the official story is. Unofficially, what I do, from a leadership competency, I'm expected to do is, one, train my analysts. So I have a team of analysts. I'm always expected to train them in some way. Whether it's send them to training myself or send them to training at other organizations, or train them myself via a seminar or lecture like I'm doing with you guys now. The second thing I'm expected to do is use my force of personality to get people to think strategically. Where I work at DITRA, everyone wants to think about the next 24 hours or that low level. How do I protect WMD from coming through gate X or checkpoint Y or border crossing Z? And what I do at DITRA is I'm a red team analyst, and I look at ways that an enemy can smuggle nuclear weapons into the United States. That's kind of my big deal, and I think of scenarios. But I've also been given the task to think strategically. So not just, all right, what's wrong with checkpoint X on the Mexican border, but how will technology give either the United States an advantage or our adversaries an advantage in utilizing WMD? What are scenarios 20 years from now that they can use to actually employ devices? And that's something that's I'm being tasked to do to get people to think in a strategic level. And then the final leadership competency, something that hasn't been done in the past but is now, is how do I save money? Obviously, these are fiscally tight times, and if I can save money in my approach, that's always going to be a positive. So those are kind of my leadership competencies, and that kind of wraps up week 2. Week 3, I'm going to do the self-assessments. Again, it's a lot of how you can act like a change manager, change leadership. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And then we also introduce you to the PPF Corporation. It is a made-up corporation, and how the leader in that case was able to make changes that increased morale, increased productivity, and eventually increased sales. And all of you will be doing an assignment on that. And again, so read it now, so when the paper is due in 2 weeks, you can have a good understanding of where I'm going with this. So with that being said, looking forward to your discussions on week 3, and if there's any questions or issues, please let me know.